My adventurous and optimistic Sagittarius friend. Hello and welcome. My name is Mina, and I'm here to offer you a 3-card reading exploring the themes of you, your path, and your potential. I invite you to consider what the reading reveals about possible challenges, opportunities, and personal growth for the week ahead. Take a deep breath, rest your mind, and let's see what the cards have to share with you today. Sagittarius, this week meets you at the edge of something you can almost name, but not quite. There's an internal restlessness, an ache to pause, but also a flicker of guilt for wanting that pause. You're often celebrated for your boldness and optimism, but beneath the surface there's a quieter urge, the longing for a room of your own, a brief retreat, a breath taken away from all the noise. You might find yourself staring out windows, daydreaming, or feeling a strange disconnect even in the company of others. There's an unspoken tension between what you're expected to offer and what you quietly wish for yourself. It's the pressure of always being on, of showing up with energy when your reservoir feels low. In this hush, you might sense a question rising. What if you simply stopped just for a moment? Not forever, just long enough to feel yourself again, without the pull of next week's promises or yesterday's demands. That's where this week begins, not in outward action but in the gentle reckoning with your own need for quiet, an honest look at the space between longing and loyalty, between movement and rest. You are carrying the energy of the Four of Swords, though you may not have realized it until now. This card's presence doesn't announce itself with drama. It slips in quietly, like the stillness after a long day's journey. You might notice how your thoughts swirl, looping through conversations and unfinished plans, but underneath your spirit is asking for something simpler. There's a fatigue here, not just physical but emotional. It's as if you've been holding your breath, waiting for permission to exhale. Perhaps you feel a subtle withdrawal from the world, even as you keep up appearances. You may catch yourself craving silence, craving the kind of solitude that feels restorative rather than isolating. There's a heaviness in your chest, the residue of weeks spent carrying more than your share, or perhaps the echo of old worries resurfacing in quiet moments. It's not weakness, nor is it avoidance. It's the natural pause that follows a season of striving. This isn't about giving up or running away from your responsibilities. It's about honoring that inner voice whispering that you need a break. The world doesn't always make space for this kind of rest, but your heart knows when to ask for it. In the hush of early morning or the stillness before sleep, you might notice the tension ease just a bit. That's the gift of this moment, a rare permission to step back, to gather your strength, to let your mind and spirit settle. You're not hiding from life, Sagittarius. You're preparing to meet it again on your own terms. This longing for pause, for a moment of stillness, is not a dead end. In fact, it's the very ground from which this week's journey unfolds. When you allow yourself to rest, truly rest, you create a space where new perspectives can take root. The tension you feel, the quiet pull toward withdrawal, isn't a sign that you're losing your spark. Rather, it's the necessary exhale that comes before you breathe in again. From this inner stillness, your path forward begins to reveal itself, not as a sudden leap, but as a gentle opening, a widening horizon that calls to you, even as you sit quietly within yourself. The week's events gather their momentum around the energy of the Three of Wands. The world outside does not stop simply because you need a moment. In fact, it seems to pulse with its own urgency. Opportunities arise, invitations beckon, and there's a sense that something is waiting just beyond your current reach. You might feel the pressure to respond, to step back into your usual rhythm of action and adventure. The friction comes from opposing currents, your desire for rest, and the world's insistent push for progress. You may notice expectations, your own and others, building steadily. There's a sense of anticipation, as if doors are opening on the horizon, but you're not yet sure which ones you're meant to walk through. Conversations take on new weight. Plans that seemed distant now demand decisions. There's movement here, but it's not frenetic. It's a steady, forward-leaning energy, asking you to look up from your place of rest and notice what's unfolding. It can feel both exciting and overwhelming. The possibility of change is real, but so is the uncertainty. You stand at the edge of something, perhaps a project, a relationship, a new idea, that asks you to claim your place in a larger story. Yet the pull to act is tempered by the wisdom of waiting, of letting your next step be guided by clarity rather than habit. The world's momentum is real, Sagittarius, but you hold the power to decide how and when you join it. The friction you feel is not a problem to solve, but an invitation to engage more consciously. What unfolds from here depends so much on your willingness to meet the moment as it is, not as you wish it to be and not as others expect it to be. Your potential isn't a guarantee but a possibility, shaped by the attention and intention you bring to the present. The path ahead could rush you, sweep you into its current, or it could open gently as you meet it with awareness, choosing not to react out of habit but to respond from the fullness of who you are right now. In the energy of the Two of Wands, your potential is not about conquering new territory, but about standing at the threshold, awake, alert, and in touch with your own agency. Growth, for you, arrives as an invitation, not a demand. There is a sense of surveying the landscape of your life, noticing both where you've come from and where you might go next. The choices before you are real, but so is your capacity to choose them from a place of steadiness. You might sense a growing confidence, the kind that comes from honoring your own process rather than rushing to meet someone else's timeline. The horizon expands not because you force it, but because you have taken the time to truly see it. There's a quiet power in recognizing that you stand at a crossroads with more than one path open. The invitation is to imagine what's possible when you move from rest rather than from restlessness. You do not need to have all the answers. You only need to meet this moment honestly, allowing your next step to arise from the clarity you've cultivated. In this way, your potential is not just about what you do, but about how you relate to yourself as you choose. There is no rush, Sagittarius, only the unfolding of what's true for you. When you reflect on this week as a whole, you might see a gentle arc, the pause and quiet of the Four of Swords, the awakening momentum of the Three of Wands, and the poised possibility of the Two of Wands. Each stage builds on the last, not in a linear race, but in a cycle as natural as breath. You are allowed to rest, to step back, to gather your thoughts in silence. From this place, the world's invitations become clearer, not as demands but as possibilities. You are not being asked to leap before you're ready. You are being offered a moment to choose your direction consciously. The tensions you feel are not obstacles, but reminders that you are alive, awake, and capable of meeting your life with intention. There is strength in stillness, just as there is courage in stepping forward. This week you may find yourself moving between these states, resting, watching, choosing. Through it all, the story is not one of frantic progress, but of measured engagement, a dance between inner need and outer opportunity. By week's end, you might notice that the horizon hasn't moved, but you have. You return to yourself, steady and clear, ready for whatever comes next. Actionable insights for Sagittarius this week. Let yourself linger in moments where nothing is demanded of you. Try noticing what it feels like to say yes and to say no without rushing the decision. See if you can hold both rest and possibility in the same breath, just for today. Spoken word affirmations to repeat aloud for a more positive mindset. I honor my need for quiet. I welcome the space between plans. I notice the world's invitations without pressure. I choose my next step from a place of calm. I trust the unfolding horizon before me. And now, dear friend, I thank you for giving me your time. I truly hope I have given you something helpful in return. Goodbye and good luck until next time.